Here we go. Hi. Setting up your, all right, this is Tracy Stuckrath. If you're watching from Zoom, then we're live, and we're going to try this again. There's nobody on here but us.
Okay.
So we're just going to do Facebook Live. Where are you? Why are you not Facebook Living? All right. Allison, do you see us live on there, Facebook Live?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think there's anyone on there just yet. So
okay. So hi, everybody. This is Tracy Stuckrath with Thrive Meetings and Events. And this is my weekly Ask Tracy segment on dietary conversations. There's Nancy. She's checking in. We are live now. Weekly conversation about dietary restrictions in the workplace and at events and meetings.
But yeah, I don't think there's anyone on there just
yet. And so hi, everybody. Today we have Emily Brown, the CEO and founder of the segment on dietary conversations. There's Nancy. Okay. Emily Brown, CEO and founder of Food Equality Initiative out of Kansas City. And Food Equality Initiative is an organization that helps put food free from food for those individuals who have food allergies and celiac disease, helps them get access to those foods that they might not necessarily be able to access in other food banks and food pantries around the country. Welcome, Emily. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Tracy.
You're welcome. You and I have chatted a lot in the last couple of weeks, and I've learned a lot about you, and I've changed, I think I sent you a note, I changed my Amazon Smile purchases to go directly to Food Equality Initiative, and my birthday celebration fundraiser on Facebook is to go to you all. And I'm actually going to extend that. Did I tell you this? Through the end of May?
Yeah.
Because Thrive, my company, is turning 10 in May, so I'm going to take my fundraiser all the way through May. So yay. So there's a lot going on right now with COVID and with food allergies and getting access to this. And you sent me a statistic the other day in an email, and it said you've gotten a 300% increase in requests for your services. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've definitely seen an increase in service requests for services since the beginning of COVID-19. I think we started receiving requests from individuals who'd recently lost their job or had reduced hours starting March 13th. And from there, it's kind of been about 2 to 5 new people every day requesting services. Obviously, some of those are coming from the Kansas City community, but many are coming from individuals living all across the country who have, been impacted by, the shuttering of our businesses so that people can stay safe and stop the spread of COVID-19. So it's just been, there's tremendous need. There was need prior to COVID-19, but, this is definitely, magnified that need.
Wholeheartedly. And it's actually, I was reading an article this morning, it's magnified so much about our food system in general. And the need for food for those individuals who can't afford to buy the food. And you've got so many good statistics, but one of the things that in that article today was like, people before who would say, oh, I'm never going to go to a food pantry or I'm never going to need that, are now having to do that because they don't know where their next paycheck is going to come from. And they may actually be having to use these services. And so those people include people with food allergies and celiac disease.
Yes, you're correct. I'm pretty sure I read a statistic where it said, I believe that they estimate 18% of people who will be visiting food banks and food pantries will be there for the first time. And that is a direct result of the fallout from COVID-19.
Wow. That's crazy. And then the 18%, if you figure out what is the statistic from Dr. Gupta of 10% of adults have food allergies. Right. So 10% of that 18%, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then, there's an article on my website, thrivemeetings.com/blog. About Emily and what she's doing and what has inspired her to do this. But and she was inspired because she couldn't buy the food herself.
Yeah.
But so tell me, there's another stat you have of the cost of these items that we're going to get to the pantries around the country, but tell people about the different price points that make it important that we actually have these items in food pantries.
Yeah. So one of the statistics or kind of price points I like to share is kind of just the cost of milk. I mean, we know in Kansas City that a gallon of milk is roughly $4. And, if you have to buy a milk substitute, that can be anything from soy milk to flax milk and hemp milk. I mean, we have so many great alternatives on the market now, which is a great thing. But those can range anywhere from $7 to $15 a gallon. Now, oftentimes when you find it in the store, it's being sold by the quart. So you have to add that cost. The comparison has to be the same. You can't compare the cost of a quart to the cost of a gallon. So when you look at it that way, we're seeing in some cases, it's not 10% more, it's 100%, 200%, even in some cases 1,000%. Gluten-free flour is the highest markup that we've seen. So if you look at the cost of regular all-purpose flour, I mean, it's like 25, 28 cents. I mean, it's really cheap. And then when you compare that to the cost of a pound of gluten-free flour, which I know I have personally paid, $8.99 for a pound and a half of gluten-free flour regularly. Right. Like it's not, so when you look at that cost comparison, that's 1,000% increase. And so, when a family is diagnosed with a food allergy or celiac disease, or for whatever reason they have to change their diet for a medical purpose, they can't necessarily just eat 1,000% markup. You know what I mean? You could expect a family to absorb 10%, 20%, but 1,000%. And certainly, we're living in times where people are, that there's going to be great need with the high rise of unemployment. And so, if the place where people find relief is at food banks and food pantries, and those items are not there, then those families are just kind of left in what I perceive as just this gap in our safety net system. Federal programs do address food insecurity and work, really well, SNAP being one of them, because it allows participants to buy the foods that they need. There are no restrictions based on brand or sizes, where you might find those in some of the other federal nutrition programs, but you don't get any extra SNAP dollars because you have to buy gluten-free food. So that benefit does not go as far. And so, that's why I say there's really just a need, not only for, there to be a charitable response, but there is a need for, appropriate policy changes to make it more accessible for these families.
That's a really good point. I mean, you don't think about that, and you have a certain amount of money that you're allowed to spend or you can spend, and then when you have to spend 1,000% more, somebody normally is not thinking about that, and nor are the policies. And you said to me a couple of months, or in one of our previous conversations too, is that you're working on the national level to change what types of food are allowed to be purchased, because, and I don't think it was on SNAP, but like right now it says 100% whole wheat, which means that a gluten-free bread cannot be purchased through that program. Is that right?
Correct. That is one of the policy changes that we're looking at through the WIC program, which the acronym, for those who are not familiar, is it's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program for Women, Infants, and Children. And so that's, WIC is the acronym that is most associated with that program. And that program, what it does is it allows, pregnant women, postpartum women up to 1 year postpartum, and children from birth to age 5 to receive supplemental nutrition to make sure that, that they are getting all the nutrients they need at such a critical time of development. Well, one of the things that is available on the program is, whole grain products, including whole grain bread, whole wheat bread, but that provision says whole wheat, 100% whole wheat, and not whole grain. And so there is no gluten-free bread on the program. You can get corn tortillas, but it's the same. It's like, you can't make, your sun butter sandwich on corn tortillas.
Well, I actually did that this morning, and they're not as tasty as whole wheat, whole flour tortillas that I used to eat a long time ago. So I wholeheartedly understand that.
Yes.
So kind of jumping where I don't want to lose, both of our concepts, but going back to the food pantries, one statistic that I saw that you put out is that there's only 4 pantries in the US that actually provide for people who have food allergies and celiac disease, but there's 60,000 pantries in the country, and there's only 4. I don't even want to calculate the percentage of that.
Yeah, I have not done the math on that. That someone should do the math. I'll have someone on my staff do the math on that. But yeah, it is an alarming statistic. And I do want to be clear that, yes, you can go into a pantry today and you may stumble across a random, gluten-free flour, or a random, loaf of gluten-free bread, or, sunflower seed spread here or there. But there's only 4 organizations that are consistently providing this access on a regular basis, meaning that these foods are part of their procurement plan. So whether they get them donated or not, they're purchasing to make sure that they're consistently on the shelf. And that is the distinction. And these pantries also, these organizations, the 4 of the 60,000 have policies in place to get those foods to people who need them most. They can screen individuals, and they know how to identify and make sure that it goes to a family who is either managing food allergy, celiac disease, or some other, medically necessary diet. And so those are some of the real barriers we have in the emergency food system. There's so many organizations that are doing so much good work. And I want to say, acknowledge that work that they're doing, but there is a significant gap. There is this understanding that, we race to feed the masses, but we don't stop and think, well, what can the masses actually eat? And, I love, the prevalence work that Dr. Ruchi Gupta has done to show that food allergy is huge. 32 million Americans, 6 million children. That means that food allergy should be at the center, or at least at the table, when any nutrition program is setting policies, when any emergency food assistance program is setting their procurement dollars. That should be a part of the conversation. It should be a part of the emergency prepared planning, so that it's not just an afterthought or not a thought at all.
Right.
I personally experienced yesterday a huge incident. My husband recently had his hours reduced at work. And so,
Sorry, I hit the wrong button on my phone.
Okay, I was like, I hope we're still on. But we had an incident where, he went to go pick up a lunch from the school, where we have 504 accommodations. We have meal modification plans on file. He notified the pickup site that there was an allergy, and then got home and we got peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Are allergic to peanuts. So, it's things like that where the systems we have in place for vulnerable families are failing the families that have special dietary needs. The foods are not there. They don't have adequate policies regarding distribution, and it is leaving a gap, and it's leaving people hungry.
I think we pick up our bat phone and call Mary Vargas,
It's interesting you said that. I actually sent her an email yesterday.
So Mary Vargas, if you're listening, we're dialing you on our bat phone, our Batgirl phone. We need your help.
Yeah.
It something you said, it just blows my mind. And it's, and I talk about this on creating events and making sure that the events people have the food as well when you're coming to an event. And this is an event, and we need to make sure that that happens. And then what about, all the people that are doing the great work of feeding the healthcare workers, the people on the front lines. I also think about those people that are on the front lines that have dietary restrictions and have food allergies, and not to, criticize any of them, but are you labeling them? Do you have vegan options? Do you have food allergy options? Are you thinking about that when you're creating those foods to give to those individuals? And somebody's like, oh, well, they know what they can and can't eat. I'm like, yeah, but if they're running down to get something to eat really quickly before they go into another patient's room, they don't have the time to look. So,
Right.
to really read those labels.
Yes, no, that is so important. And I have actually heard that, that has been a challenge, that those healthcare workers in those hospitals are very grateful for, the support that the community is providing and, sending meals, but there has to be, options because not everyone can just eat anything.
Right. Exactly. And I think, and we take it for granted. And one of the things that I teach a lot of the times is that I say, we don't go to the store and buy this allergy, and we can't go to the store and return that allergy. Right. And so it's not like that we chose to live this way. It's
Right.
Our body doesn't let us live this way.
Right. It's not a choice, and it doesn't just end. I mean, I feel like I keep saying, food allergies don't end just because classes were dismissed. So when these schools are setting these policies regarding their to-go meal programs, they should be considering special diets. I mean, I've seen in my community and in others where districts have just, blatantly posted that they will not provide allergy-friendly options and that they just won't accommodate.
Wow.
And it's shocking to me because it's like, I don't understand how you just, the need didn't go away just because you dismissed school.
Right.
And if you're having challenges meeting that need, that shows that there's a gap in our planning and that we need to come back to the table. We need to take really good notes and be prepared the next time this happens. We can't just say, oh, we have vendor supply issues or, whatever. Well, you have them because, either the district, and I would even say perhaps, officials at the USDA and Food and Nutrition Services have grossly underprepared and acknowledged this issue.
I wholeheartedly agree. And it makes me want to reach out to my friend who works at FEMA in emergency responses, and how does that happen and where does that come into play, and when you have hurricanes and, other things like that. And there are cities right now that are experiencing both of those things, right?
Right. Yes.
Houses being destroyed.
Right.
So, and then they're having to go to shelter, in a communal shelter facility. So what are being done for those individuals?
Right.
So we've been talking a lot about government, and I know today is Earth Day, but also we were chatting about today is also the National Day of Action. So tell me a little bit about that and what you guys are doing for that.
Yes. So it is Earth Day, but it is also National Day of Action. And what that means is we're asking, our community to call their representatives, call their senators, and let them know that, there's a need to strengthen our safety net system through SNAP. All of the great work that charities do will not be enough to ensure that no one goes hungry during COVID-19. We need strong nutrition programs. And so what we're asking is that people call their representatives and senators and ask them to increase the maximum benefit by 15% and increase the minimum benefit from $16 to $30. And we're going to be posting on this on our social media. So watch for that today. And it'll have a link so that it'll make it really easy for you to look up, the number of senators and representatives. And also it'll also have their social media handles, because Twitter is also a great place to reach out to your representatives. So
All right. And where can we, Allison, if you'll type this into Facebook, what are your social media handles so that people can actually follow you?
Yes, you can find us at Food Equality. So just the at sign and then Food Equality.
Okay. And is that on Facebook
That's
as well as Twitter?
on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram.
Okay, perfect. So we'll make sure everybody gets those out and you'll have those links to that.
Yes.
And kind of going back to the, that it is Earth Day, one of these tonight at 6 o'clock, I'm actually I'm the host for Earth Day at the 6 p.m. hour Eastern Standard Time for Earth Day. And I'm actually talking about the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which is actually about well-being and health of individuals, ensuring, I'm going to read it directly, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. So I know someone, my friend Rachel's talking about it at an earlier hour, but at the 6 o'clock hour, I'm actually going to be talking about how dietary restrictions, whether it's food allergies or veganism or whatever, that plays into that conversation as well. And it's part of the UN's goals to make sure that everybody has something to eat and is provided, healthy food.
Yes.
So check out Emily's blog, as all of her social media handles, and then check me out on Twitter and on mine this afternoon at 6 o'clock. But what can someone, my friend Nancy's on here. Thank you for being such a good follower, Nancy. And my friend Peter just jumped on. Peter just said, great discussion. Are there statistics for the number of people per million being allergic to which ingredient food? That may give a perspective ideal components to include in relief hampers, parcels. Best wishes from South Africa.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great.
Love you.
Great question. I don't have all of the numbers, but I'm sure we could reach out to Dr. Ruchi Gupta and probably get some idea on the numbers on prevalence per allergy.
Yeah, I know she's got some, when she did the research last year, it did say shellfish was the #1 for adults. And she does have a good map, and I'll find that map and put it up of where the most prevalence of allergies are. Australia being the highest, which surprised me a lot. I don't remember a lot in Africa, just remembering that map. So I'll find that map. Maybe I can find it. And I know Leanne's got it somewhere, but and post that. But Peter will find the statistics for that and let you know. It may just be based in the US, but it may be a good thing to show across the board. The top 8 allergens, though, we should mention, that cause 90% of all allergic reactions worldwide are wheat, eggs, milk or dairy, tree nuts, peanuts, fish, shellfish, and soy. So those 8 foods cause 90% of all allergic reactions. And I know shellfish is highest for adults, but was milk, or what is the one for kids? Do you know, Emily?
I don't want to be quoted on this, but yeah. I feel like I read somewhere it might actually be dairy.
Yeah. Okay. So Peter, thank you for that question. And we'll come back to you with those statistics and post that on this, once this Facebook page live is over, we'll find those statistics and give them to you. But it is, and I was talking to Chef the other day, a lot more people are talking about garlic and onion statistic, or garlic and onion allergies. I don't think anybody's done a statistic on that. Aaron, yay, dairy is highest for young children, and then peanuts takes over as children age. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah. Allergy, smallergy.
Yes. Oh, Aaron. Hi, Aaron. I know Aaron. She's great.
Yes.
Allergy strong.
Yeah, allergy strong. Thank you. And she actually gave a good list today on her Twitter feed of food free from companies that are shipping directly to people at their homes. Hey, Aaron, can you on this Facebook feed, can you post that link to your tweet or to your blog so we can all have that list? That would be awesome. Mm-hmm. Allison in London said broccoli was priced at $5 per kilo in her grocery store this morning. We get a lot of produce from Spain at this time of year, and they can't get workers at the moment to pick because of COVID. in case it's worth knowing. And that's totally worth knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Robin O'Brien, do you follow Robin?
I do follow Robin. Mm-hmm.
She's been posting a lot about the food, the challenges that we have in our food system, like we were talking about a few minutes ago.
Yeah, they're definitely this pandemic is definitely kind of magnifying the weaknesses that we already have in our current food system.
Mm-hmm.
So just the supply chain issues, and just there's so many policy challenges, which is why I feel like there has to be, we all care about the food that we eat, and it is so vital to our health. And so there's just so much to consider when we discuss food policy and how it impacts us.
Well, and I think because it's something that we all share and we all must do, I think we also take that for granted. Because we always consider what we eat and how we eat it, but we don't necessarily think about those around us. And I think that's really big. That's really important, not only for our tables at home, but for the policies that we're creating. And I've been talking to a lot of chefs, at hotels and convention centers, and what they're going to do post-pandemic, and seating and feeding. And I'm like, this is the right time to go find the vendors that Aaron is going to give me a list of who does provide these things, right? And how can we get them to our, to the right people and serve them to those people? Because I think we're going to be serving a lot of prepackaged snacks at our events going forward.
Yeah, and this is that time to find those new partners and to create new supply chains. I know that we've definitely had to do that here locally with our service, because we have, just like the general public have experienced some supply chain issues, but we've just faced those head on and been able to create new ones. So.
And yeah, and I think Robin's like, we need to figure out new ways to rethink how we get these things. I was excited that Publix announced this morning that it's going directly to the farmers to get the food from the farmers. So, and distributing it into their grocery stores. I need to see more about that, but I thought that was really good. So going back to that stat of that there's 4 pantries, in the US that reach these, out of 60,000, is there a way to do this nationally? I mean, do you ship? Aaron's got that list of companies that are shipping directly to, but can you do that as well? Or what resources do you have for people who aren't near one of those 4 pantries?
Yeah, so definitely pre-COVID, we were basically just shipping vouchers and coupons to people who reached out, who were not kind of technically in our service area. We really only have two requirements for service, and that's to be at or below 250% of federal poverty level. That's the income guideline, and then have a diagnosis of food allergy or celiac disease. And so we really don't have a residency restriction. It's just, we have really been very careful, because it's like, once you do something for one person, you need to be able to do it for all. And we're very big on equity. And so we didn't want to kind of like open the floodgate when we weren't ready. And, I want to kind of bring in Spoken Cares. We're partnering with Spoken to do this campaign, because the need is great. And we do know that it exists everywhere. And so we're already looking at ways to kind of do this work on a larger scale, actually prior to COVID. And after the pandemic, we've been able to move rather quickly to a delivery/shipping method. So we're delivering now, and we have been for the last 5 weeks. And we're delivering and serving all 26 counties here in the Kansas City area. And so we are shipping to some of those clients that are kind of further out in the rural setting, that are beyond the door-to-door delivery radius that we have with our partner. And so for us, it's just a financial issue, so that we can build the infrastructure to ship nationwide.
Okay.
We've got some warehouse partners here, and we're exploring other partnerships so that we can do that. It's just being able to have the financial resources, and also being able to have the inventory to make sure that when I open it up to, everyone
Right.
that we can fulfill those orders as they come in. But the need is great. So for us, it's just it's building the capacity, and that takes funding, and that takes actual infrastructure. And so we're still a young organization. We've been around for about 5 years, and we have made great strides in building capacity. And we have really, really worked to understand kind of the business that we're in.
Right.
So, we're also looking to share those best practices. We have a couple of projects that we're working on to explore building the capacity of food banks and food pantries in other states. So we are, reaching out and, sharing that knowledge, but also recognizing that, ultimately this is a medical need, and for it to be sustainable, it needs to be covered by insurance, and so that's one of the things we're fighting for. If we could get reimbursement for the work that we're doing, it would make it very sustainable.
Well, and kind of on that note, so taxes, I mean, I know that, and I don't know how many people know that, and I talk to your accountant before you go and just try to do this, but because it's a medical need, you can actually write off some of those costs of buying the food that you need because you might die, right?
Yeah, you can write. My understanding is you can deduct the cost difference between kind of normal nutrition versus the nutrition that you need. So again, that percent increase that I talked about when I gave the example of the non-dairy milk, you would be able to write off the percentage over that $4 a gallon milk. So you'd have to keep meticulous records and receipts, and then you would only be able to do it if you could beat the standard deduction. That's where that benefit really does not support low income individuals, because they often are not going to beat the standard deduction. And so therefore it's not like it's above, there's a tax term, and it's escaping me right now, where you can take the deduction kind of like off the top, right? It's not one of those. It's you only get this if you can itemize and beat the standard deduction.
And your medical costs, and that medical cost is much higher.
Right.
Now. Yeah.
So that's kind of what is there today.
Right.
But I mean, in the future, I envision a world where, this is covered under your insurance, it's reimbursed, that you could use your HSAs for it,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. That would all help make this work sustainable. So
that's a really good idea. So I know my friend Monica said she actually had some gluten-free stuff and some almond milk that she actually took to her local food bank the other day and made a donation. What can Joe Schmo on the street, or Tracy, sitting here, I've got some stuff in my pantry. Is there things that we should look to do, or how can we help?
So I always advise people that if you make a donation like that to your food bank, there's no guarantee it's going to get to somebody who needs it. True. So while it will help feed a hungry family, it just may not go to a food allergy family. Right. And so I think obviously, supporting those organizations that are doing the work, the hard work, and making this a priority in terms of their procurement and their policies, supporting them. Again, we've launched the Spoken Cares campaign, and I just want to acknowledge before we get off, we've got so many great partners that are working with us, and us either giving a percentage of their sales or donating 1-for-1. So like you go on and you buy something and then they donate it to us, or even you just retweet a picture of their product and they share it to us. But we've got such great partners with Oh My Dairy Free, which makes a really great dairy-free gelato. Everybody Eats, which is kind of like a gluten-free cracker company based in Chicago. Safely Delicious. I don't know if you've had their snacks, but they've got great snacks that are top 8 free. Hillary's Eat Well, which makes wonderful plant-based foods free of the top common 8 allergens. Partake, which makes really great cookies. Kips, Blake's seed-based bars.
Okay.
Super Seeds, Prevail. I'm sorry, my office phone is ringing. I haven't been in the office. My office coordinator, it's gonna ring to her phone if I don't pick it up, so it'll be okay. But yes.
These are all companies I've never heard of. That's so good.
Yeah, so many companies doing great work. Prevail, The Greater Need, and I always pronounce this one wrong, and Colleen, please forgive me. Is it Zigo or Zago?
I call it Zigo.
You call it Zigo. Okay. Yes. I
Yes.
hope
Colleen, we love you.
Yes, we love you. I just want to make sure I pronounce it right. Fancy Pants Baking Company. Little Gluten-Free Chefs. They make these kits that you can do with your kids, kind of home projects, home chef projects. And so they're donating 10%. Kate's Safe and Sweet. She makes mixes in boxes and ships them so that people can bake at home. And Sweet Megan's. So many who are supporting, and we're just so grateful. And so I can send you the link for the donation for the campaign.
I've already put it on Facebook.
Already got it on?
Yeah.
Great. And so that's a great way to give and support so that, we can build the infrastructure so that we can serve those nationwide. Beyond that, it's, doing your part to let your representatives and senators know that, this is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like participating in this National Day of Action and calling and asking for those increases. And then I'd say the other thing is, if you know a food allergy family in your community that is facing some challenges, maybe you are in a support group together, reach out and see if they need some support that way. I know Aaron and I worked together with a family that reached out for support, but I knew that they lived right near her. So she was able to reach out and help that family. And so, Aaron, I hope that's okay that I shared that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, being in community with people and responding to those needs.
Exactly. I agree with that. That's really good. Thank you, Aaron, for doing that. So again, we're coming up on the 45 minutes. So can you reiterate what your social media handles are again?
Yes, you can follow Food Equality Initiative at Food Equality on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Okay. And this is Emily Brown Speak.
Yes. On Twitter. Yeah, you can follow me personally on Twitter, Instagram at Emily Brown Speaks. And then on Facebook, I'm just Emily Brown.
And so she is the CEO and founder of Food Equality Initiative out of Kansas City. And she helps put food that is free from in the hands of the families, in the kitchens of the families who have kids with and adults with food allergies and celiac disease. And I love that she's working on a national level to change policy in our food system and help this become a greater opportunity for all of us to be fed well.
Yes.
Emily, thank you for all that you do. I'm so,
thank you.
And I have actually put the Spoken Cares campaign link at the bottom of this feed on the Facebook Live. And if you go to my Thrive page too is, and I will post it as well, I'm doing a donation for my birthday, and that actually all goes to this campaign as well. So thank you all for joining in with us, Nancy, Peter, Aaron, Allison, and Emily. We'll find that information. I'm going to put all those companies that you named on this feed as well when we're done. And then if you can give us the links for the National Day of Action.
Yes.
That would be really good. And we can all take care of that this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. And I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.